Hey guys, this is Sarah from Emerald City Creationz, and I wanted to give a little tutorial on how to uncoil your hoop. I've had a lot of brand new hoopers buying hoops from me, and I remember when I first bought a hoop and looking online for tutorials to try to figure out how to get my hoop from looking like this to looking like this. So if you try to separate it like this, it's going to turn into like a figure eight. You don't want that at all. Just keep it nice and flat. You're going to look for the connection point. If you have a taped hoop, for me, I do a grip tape on the ends to try to keep your grip on longer. But you're going to look for that point where you have the two pieces of tape next to each other, and you're going to find a rivet and a push button. The push button's going to stick out from the hoop just a little bit, and it's going to have little grooves around the sides so it's easier to push in and out. So what you're going to do is you're going to find that push button, you're going to press in with your thumb, and it's just going to push down, and then you should be able to slide open the part. If you have a hard time getting the slide going, you just need to push that button kind of in and down at a little bit of an angle, not an aggressive angle, just a tiny angle, and this is going to come out. When it's coming out, keep a firm grip on the hoop, because if it's a smaller hoop, it's going to kind of snap back as it opens. So you're going to keep a firm grip. It's just going to release, and then you're just going to let the hoop kind of go at a natural shape, and it's going to come out looking like this. So the ends are going to kind of bend in, but that's just from being in that closed position for so long. It'll return to its normal shape with just a little bit of hooping. So you're going to uncoil it very gently. If it's cold outside and your hoop's been sitting in the cold, let it warm up a little bit before you go to uncoil it, especially if it's polypro. It's going to be a little brittle, and you just want that hoop to be nice and warm and flexible to go through that whole coiling and uncoiling process. So when you have your hoop like this and it's kind of coiled in still a little bit on the ends, you're just going to gently push it out, stick the two together, and the push button is actually going to kind of block it. At first, you're going to press that push button back in again, and it's just going to slide through and click. And then you have your full hoop. If it's been coiled a long time, it's going to be a little warped. It might be a little wonky. It might look like this. It's okay if it's warm to kind of push it in and out, try to get its shape back up to normal a little bit, or else just doing some light hooping, doing some breaks if you're more experienced, or just doing some waist hooping is going to get that hoop back to its normal shape. You can also leave it out on the ground at night, let it lay flat, just kind of let it breathe, get back to its normal shape. If you want to coil your hoop back down for travel, we're just going to go in the opposite process. So you're just going to press that button again, pull it apart, snap it open. You're going to let the hoop ends go to either side, so you're just going to pull in opposite directions. We're going to make kind of an infinity loop. So what I like to do is I get to about this, making sure I'm not aggressively pushing on the hoop. You're just kind of letting it go, this natural flow. It's going to be a little tight, but you want to be careful you don't bend it down here at this point. So always be gentle. If you feel like you're going to bend it and break it, just kind of let it breathe for a little bit. Let it get used to being in that position again. What I like to do when I get to this point, I flip it, and I actually step on the bottom. Let me make sure you can see it. I step on the bottom so it holds it in place. So I keep it in this nice small circle, and I'm going to find these top parts. If I can't get it in, I'm going to just go back to where my foot is, and I'm going to coil it just a little bit tighter, making sure this stays nice and round and we're not kinking the tubing. Holding it in that place, this part's going to be a little bit bigger, and you should be able to insert the pieces back together a little bit easier. And then you're going to press that button down again, push it into place, and it'll snap right back into place. And then you can just even out your hoop, and you have a little mini hoop again. When I travel or I go to the park or something, I like to coil it up, just kind of stick it on me and carry it around like this. You can stick it in a bag. Don't leave your hoop in a coiled position to store it. If you leave it coiled too long, it'll be fine a couple of days, a couple of hours. But if it's too long, like you leave it like that for a week or 2 weeks, especially if it's in the cold or in the real hot weather, it can actually get your hoop to warp to a point where it's almost impossible to get it back to normal. If it does warp once again, just open it up, let it breathe. You can push on it a little bit if you want, being very careful, always gentle with your hoop. If you feel like you're pushing it too far and it feels like it's gonna break, just stop. And you can always tie it off if you want. So if you get it to these ends, you can just tie some ribbon around it to keep it like this if you're not sure you can coil it all the way. We suggest not coiling your hoop down if it's below, if it's 32 inches and below. It's best not to coil it completely down. I do coil my 32-inch hoop a lot, but I'm always very careful when I do it. And instead of having that nice closed look when it's coiled, a 32 and below is gonna just spring open like this all the time when it's coiled. They're just not meant to coil that down that far. So this will happen if you do a 32 or below and you coil it down. And it's harder to coil down, it's harder to open up. Just be really, really careful if you do decide to coil it down all the way. But like we said, we really don't suggest doing it. I really shouldn't do it to this poor hoop, but I do it sometimes when I go at the park. And it's always sad, but this one's always harder. Okay, so, and sometimes it catches. If the connection can be really tight, especially when it's new, it should loosen up over time as you keep connecting and unconnecting your hoop. But the tubing can be really tight when I make them, when I get the tubing, so it is possible for you to really have to yank to get those hoops apart, the tubing apart the first couple times. But it should get back to more of a normal state eventually. But yeah, if you have any questions, go ahead and shoot me a message on my Etsy, on my Instagram, on my Facebook page, whatever is easiest. Heck, even on this YouTube. But I hope that helps explain things a little bit more. If you have questions, ask me, and I will try to get back to you. But until then, I hope you have a very happy time hooping.